I don't really believe that there's a perfect marriage.
Being a nurse, being in an emergency room, have you ever seen a gun victim?
If you put God first, everything else will follow.
When did God become important to you? What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? It's your boy StephenMotivate back again with another episode of the Journey to Freedom, and I have a special guest with me today. I'm going to do my best to read off the resume of someone near and dear to my heart. One of the first black nurses to graduate from Ball State University in Muncie, Indiana. Originally from Gary, Indiana, the G. Grew up in a large family, went to church-going person, became a first lady for several years, over 20 years of being at the helm of a first lady, still an elect lady today, or the first lady emeritus, was a county health nurse, helping people with their shots and their with their, before you have to travel out of the country, making sure you have all your vaccinations. Was also an emergency room nurse. Did that for many years, seeing all types of trauma and working with doctors to, I think in many cases, save people's lives. And without any further ado, a grandmother, my mother, is here with us today. Welcome, Mom, to the journey.
Thank you.
I'm glad to have you here.
I'm glad to be here as well.
And I love you.
Thank you so much.
Do you love me
more.
back?
I love you more.
Oh, thanks, Mom. If I didn't do a good job, what did I miss on your introduction? Is that everything?
You did a good job.
Okay. I tried to do that from memory. But I'm so happy to have you here. And I thought about, this is so cool to be able to get on camera with my mom and talk about life, talk about all the things just pertaining to, how to live the right way. And I'm thinking about what we're going to name this episode. I'm thinking like Mama Knows Best. And I'm excited because there's a lot that, maybe we've never really sat down and talked about in one location and really, so I got some questions for you today. And I'm excited to learn more about you. But I guess for the people that don't know you, well, what do you usually tell people about yourself, especially your childhood? Like I say, you're from Gary. What was Gary like growing up?
Gary was prosperous when I was growing up. We had a mayor, the first black mayor, Mayor Hatchett, and it was a booming city, but it still had a lot of crime.
Mm-hmm. So what was that like to see a black mayor that young? Did that show you something that black people could do important stuff?
Yes, I didn't really think about it as a child, but as I grew older, I learned the significance of it.
Mm-hmm. What's up, everybody? Most of you watching are not subscribed. And I understand you got a lot of things coming at you, but there's only one problem. I want to help you build your freedom. And in order to do that, I need you to come on this journey with me. So let's change that today. Hit the subscribe button, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Now back to the show. And Gary now, for anybody who don't know, Gary is not it's a rougher place now, pretty worn down,
Yes.
dilapidated. Does that ever make you sad thinking about that?
No, it doesn't make me sad, but when I was growing up in Gary, one of my brothers went to school with the Jackson 5. And so that was very important and like Gary's claim to fame. And also Denise Williams. I went to grade school with Denise Williams, and she was from Gary.
Really? Who went to school with the Jackson 5?
Mario.
He did?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all don't tell us nothing. That's pretty cool. Okay, and then who is Denise Williams?
She's a singer.
Oh, okay. Famous singer?
Yes.
Awesome, and you went to school with her?
Yes.
So Gary has produced some really cool people. Was it a lot of blacks in Gary growing up?
Yes, but I couldn't really tell you by me being so young. I couldn't tell you the ratio of blacks to whites.
Was y'all? Did you grow up in a time where the schools were still segregated, or were they starting to be integrated at
No,
that?
they were integrated when I
Okay.
grew up.
And was that so? You didn't know any different. You had white friends and
Oh
black friends
yes, I
growing up.
went to Gary Emerson,
Okay. And
and
you
it was black, white, and Hispanic.
awesome. And tell us about your family. How big was your family?
I had four brothers and myself. My brother Joe is the oldest one, and I was the second oldest. And
Mm.
then I had three brothers under me.
And what was that like?
That was good. They said I tried to boss everybody because I was the only girl.
Was that true?
Probably.
And did y'all grow up super wealthy? How did y'all grow up?
No, we grew up poor. We were very poor.
Mm. Now, was you always poor, or did was there something that happened where you became poor?
We weren't always poor because my great grandmother was a school teacher,
Mm.
and we lived in the lower level of her home.
Okay.
But when my mom and dad got a divorce, then we had it kind of rough.
Mm-hmm. And do you remember like what that time was like? So like your great grandmother, and this is Emma Skillman, right?
Yes.
So our great grandmother Emma, my great great grandmother Emma Skillman was a school teacher, and I think she is a very well known school teacher in
yes.
Gary.
Yes, she was.
She taught a lot of children, was really heralded as someone who helped blacks obtain education and really understand the basics that they needed to succeed from a schooling standpoint.
Yes. And after she retired, she taught people how to read in our home.
Mm.
And we had a piano in the home, which most people did not have.
Oh, wow. So that was a big deal to have
Yes,
a piano. Yeah.
that was a big deal.
And so then she passed away, or no, you said then.
Well, after she passed away, then my mom and dad got a divorce.
Okay.
And then things were kind of rough because I remember we had to go on welfare, and it was really difficult because we always got school closed when school started.
Mm.
And I remember one year we didn't get school closed, and I was really devastated.
Really?
We had to wear what we had.
Oh, wow. And how did that make you feel? Like you were devastated because you was used to being the best dressed and you had new stuff, and this year you didn't.
We weren't the best dressed, but we had what we needed.
Mm. And so you felt like you had less after that time.
I know I had less after that time. It wasn't a feeling; it was a reality.
And so how do you think that shaped your relationship with money and how you felt about money?
It shaped my relationship in the fact that you view other people and you view what they have, and then as a child you wonder, well, why don't I have it?
Mm-hmm.
And what's wrong with me?
Mm.
And so at that point, I kind of developed a little low self-esteem because I didn't have what the other kids had.
Mm. And so that continued on for quite a while where you weren't able to get new school clothes?
It didn't continue for a long time, but maybe about 3 years.
Okay. And what did your parents do
My mom worked at the Holiday Inn, and my biological father worked in the steel mill. But my mom didn't get a lot of support. They didn't have things in place that they have now.
Mm.
You know, they didn't have
Child support.
Child support. That's what I'm trying to say.
So she was just out there on her own trying to figure it out.
Yes.
Because Grandpa Joe, your real dad, wasn't, he wasn't too supportive. He was kind of out and about.
Right.
Got it. And so did you ever, or when did you ever feel like, all right, I got my own finances or I have my own money? When was your first job, I guess?
My first job, I was 16, and I worked for my mom's cousin waiting tables
Oh, okay. Your mom's cousin had a
She had a
restaurant.
restaurant.
Oh, okay. Really, I never knew that.
Yes.
What they serve?
She served, just lunch foods, hamburgers, French fries, things of that nature, salads.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Were they pretty prosperous? The cousins?
Yes. Everybody on my mom's side was very prosperous.
Really?
The people on my dad's side were not so much.
They was po. And so what? And so how did that impact you? You knew, okay, I wanted to be more like the cousins. I wanted to have what they had. Were you getting paid good? Did you feel financially free once you started working?
No, I wasn't getting paid good.
Okay.
I just was working and it was minimal wage at that time.
Do you remember what it was?
Probably $2.50.
Mm-hmm. And do you know, like, were you required to help out with the family bills?
No.
So
No.
your money was your own.
Yes.
What do you remember? What did you do with your money?
Bought candy and do what kids do.
Yeah.
Jacks,
Yeah, regular stuff.
regular stuff.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so and then tell us about your dad and what he was doing. Was he making money, and did you see him much growing up? What was he about?
My dad made money at the mill. He worked at the mill probably for over 30 years. But like I say, he didn't pay child support
Yeah.
and he didn't step up and really be a dad because he had an alcohol problem.
Mm. And so, do you feel like what did you see other people? Maybe your friends. Did you see good families? Because they always say like back in the day, black families were stronger and all that sort of thing. Do you find that to be true? Was he like an outlier to be like a dad that was kind of struggling with alcohol and not supporting as much, or was that?
He supported when he was sober,
Mm-hmm.
but not on a regular basis.
So did you see other people getting support? Other your friends? Did you see good father roles?
Yes, I did. From some of my friends, I saw good father roles.
Okay, and
it wanted me to have a good father.
it made you want to have one. Yeah, and so is that something like? How did that impact you?
Oh, it impacted me greatly because at one point I hated my dad
Mm.
because I had a good friend in school, and my dad was going with her mother, and she had better clothes than I did.
Oh wow. Yeah.
And that built up resentment in me.
Did you ever get a chance to talk to him about it? Talk to your dad about it?
Yes, I think I did.
What was it?
But I was a lot older. I was in college then,
Okay,
and we discussed it. And then he kind of made up
because he felt
from
bad.
some of the things that, he hadn't done.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I think all that's really interesting because I'm wondering how it shaped like who you became and who you are today. How do you think the way you grew up, multiple brothers and sisters, being not so poor, then poor for a while, how do you think it shaped you to end up being the person that goes to college and gets a degree and is one of the first black nurses at Ball State?
Well, my great grandmother, she always instilled in us go to school, get an education. She had told me that from early on.
Really?
Yes. And she read to us, we had books, and I just knew going to college was an important thing
Mm.
because all of her children had been to college except my mom.
Really?
Yes,
And why was that? Why did grandma not go?
because she got pregnant
Oh, too soon.
at 16.
Oh, wow. So it was too soon for her to go to or the timing was off.
Yes.
Did you ever talk to your mom about that? Did your mom feel bad about that? Did she want to go to school? Did she ever feel like she was less than?
Yes, she felt less than because she was really ostracized because she ended up getting pregnant.
Mm. Yeah.
And she was sort of the black sheep of her family
Really?
because her brother went to college, his sister went to college.
Mm-hmm.
She did not.
And all her cousins and stuff were college educated. Or
Yes, most of them.
a lot of them were. So you had this desire to go to college because your grandma told you to.
Yes.
Do you feel like people today, what would be your advice for people today that's thinking about whether they should go to school or not?
If they have the desire and the passion to go to college, I think they should. Now, college isn't for everyone because I know some people or some young people that are successful. Some may want to be a mechanic, and they're successful mechanics. Or whatever you desire to do your passion.
Mm-hmm.
I was passionate. I wanted to be a nurse.
Why?
Well, I saw when my great-grandmother had a stroke, a nurse would come to our house to take care of her, and I would sit and watch. I didn't want to go outside and play. I wanted to sit and watch and just see what was going on.
This is the same great-grandmother that told you school was important.
Yes.
So when she got sick, you would just, and how young were you when this happened?
Oh, I was about 10, 9 or 10.
Okay. So you was a little older, knew what was going on for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And so you kind of missed her and wanted to, like, what do you think was driving you wanting to see the nurse take care? Because you cared so much for her that you wanted to see how this person was taking care of you?
Yes, I cared for her, and I knew she was sick, and I would just watch as a nurse. She would come into our home and take care of her. I didn't want to go outside.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to sit and look and see what was going on.
Was it a white nurse?
Yes.
Was she nice? Was she mean?
She was nice.
Did y'all deal with a lot of racism?
I did in school sometimes.
Okay. But it was normal. You never thought anything of it, or?
You just dealt with it.
Yeah.
Some people would want you to be around, some wouldn't. And so what I did, I just got with the people that wanted to be my friends.
Yeah.
I didn't worry about the other ones.
Right. That's good. Maybe people should do that even today.
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't have to push your way anywhere.
What do you mean by that?
I mean that if we're in a crowd and you don't want me behind you, I'll eventually get to the same place that you're going. But I'm not pushing you to get there.
Ah, okay. There's no need to.
No. When you know who you are, you're confident.
That's good. So, the racism didn't affect you much. I mean, did you think being a nurse was achievable for you?
Yes, absolutely.
You would think that being a young black girl, that you would think that wasn't a possibility. What made you think you could do it, that you was worthy of, that it was a goal that you could set and achieve?
Well, they had a program at Methodist Hospital in Gary where you could be a candy striper. And so I was a candy striper for several years, and I knew that was what I wanted to do.
Was you the only black candy striper?
No, there were some others that were candy stripers.
Just a few of y'all?
Yeah, just a few.
Did y'all feel like y'all was breaking barriers and doing big things at that time?
You ever felt like you were just stuck? Just like you weren't completely free? Kind of like in a cage and you can't do exactly what you want to do or really accomplish the dreams you want to accomplish? Well, I felt that way too. Until I learned how to create freedom for myself. And the best part about it, I didn't have to quit my 9-to-5 job. I didn't have to leave my family. I didn't have to forsake all of my friends. I just made simple steps to start really finding out, how can I build freedom for myself? How can I promote myself? How can I make decisions for myself and for my future that I can be proud of? And I want to help you do that. This Fuel Your Freedom Challenge is all about helping you get the tools so you can put the gas behind your dreams. Put the pedal behind your hopes and behind your goals. I want to help you do that. I'm excited that you're here. Click the link. Let's get signed up, and I'll see you on the other side. Feel your freedom. Get ready. It's happening soon.
No, I didn't. I didn't feel like I was breaking barriers, but I knew I was providing a service because we would pass out ice water. We would go and buy candy and things for the patients from the gift shop if they were able to have candy. But I just liked doing it.
Just like doing it.
And I did it on Saturdays.
So you got to college and you go. How did you get into Ball State? Were you great? Were you a good student?
Yes, I was an excellent student.
And so you got into Ball State. Was it the only college you applied to?
No, I applied to about 4 colleges, but Ball State gave me the most money.
Oh, okay.
And so I had a scholarship to Ball State, and that's why I went to Ball State.
Wow. Were you afraid to do that, or were you ready to get out of Gary?
I was ready to go to Ball State because I grew up in a strict home, and I wanted to get out and live life.
Yeah, live life. You wanted to party a little bit?
A little bit.
Did you party at all when you got to school?
Yes, I did. I went to a guy named Edwin Starr came to Ball State, and I went to hear him. And but after I did all that, it wasn't what it was cracked up to be. And so it really didn't interest me that much.
After you got there?
After I really got there.
And did you ever struggle with your grades while you were in school at Ball State?
I struggled in chemistry.
That was the only thing?
Yes, I struggled in chemistry, but I really wanted to be a nurse, and so I had to buckle down and do what I needed to do.
Yeah. And so, like, what did that mean for you? Did you deal with racism in school? Did you deal with, you were like the only black nurse that actually, or were you one of a few?
When I graduated from Ball State, it was 2 black RNs, and we were the first 2 to graduate from Ball State School of Nursing. And I got an award. We both got awards from the Multicultural Center.
Did anybody, did they give you any statistics? Had other people tried and failed? And again, did this feel like something big when you were doing it?
It didn't feel like anything big when I was doing it, but after I accomplished it, I knew it was big.
You knew it was a big deal. And what did that do for you? Did you feel like, man, I can do things that have never been done before?
It built my self-esteem because that was something that I wanted to do. I wanted to be a nurse, and I knew I would be a good nurse.
Yeah. And so because you knew you wanted to do it, you'd done it a little bit in high school, and you were passionate about it, you think that's what made you successful in it?
Absolutely. Because most people go after their passion. And that was my passion. I wanted to be an RN.
Nothing else you wanted to do?
Nothing else but being an RN. I enjoyed taking care of people. I enjoyed serving people.
Do you remember the day you graduated, and who showed up for you? Was your dad there? Were your brothers there?
I don't exactly remember. That's been a long time ago, son. But the family did show up for me, but I can't exactly say who
was there,
but
and who wasn't.
It was a great accomplishment.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so we got through that part. What's going on in your mind now? Are you thinking about money? Are you thinking about how much you're going to make? Did nurses make a good amount of money back then?
No, not really.
So it wasn't about the money for you?
No, it wasn't about the money.
Did you ever think about being a doctor?
No.
Wasn't interested? You just wanted to be a nurse?
I wanted to be a nurse.
Mainly because you wanted to serve?
Yes.
Awesome. That's interesting. So I guess what happens next? You graduate. It's a big deal. You're the first nurse that's black that's ever graduated from Ball State University.
Yes, it was a 4-year nursing program, so I have a degree in nursing.
Wow. So what was next? What'd you do next? You had to What
After
start?
I graduated, I went back to Gary and I worked a year. And then after that, I got married.
Okay. So what was that like?
Getting married?
Yeah, and leaving and going back to Gary. Why didn't you stay in Gary?
Well, I wanted to, my husband lived in Muncie.
Hmm.
And so I wanted to be with my husband.
Yeah.
And right after I got married, I did not work um, for a year or so. And then I got pregnant.
Uh oh.
And so my children were small. So I didn't work for about 3 years.
Oh, after you got the degree,
Uh-huh.
and so you didn't work, and so how did you? How were you for money? Was it a challenge?
Yes, it was a challenge because my husband didn't have a very good job at that time. And it was a challenge. But I knew he was who God had for me and everything would work out.
What was? How did you? When does God come into the picture for you? Why is God helping you pick your husband, or why did you know that God, you know, why was that important?
Well, I met my husband my last quarter in at Ball State. And he was in church and I was in church and I knew he loved the Lord. And I really was trying to, I told him, I said, well, when I go to Gary, um, I'm going to date other people, you know. And he really didn't like that. But then when I got home to Gary and was working and doing life, I realized that I really like this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something there. And he would come up from Muncie to visit me when he had a chance. And next thing you know, we got married.
Really? Who he proposed to you
Yes.
in Gary?
No, he proposed to me in Muncie.
Really? And
I
you,
was down in Muncie for some occasion or something.
what would you tell people that are looking that have never been married before, and are looking for love? What would be your advice before you get married? What should folks do?
I would say, number one, I'm old school.
Okay.
And the Bible says, he that findeth a wife finds a good thing.
Mm.
My husband found me.
Mm.
I wasn't out looking for him.
Oh wow.
And so now they have so many things. They've got Match.com and all of this kind of stuff. And I'm a little leery of that
Yeah.
because you have to spend a little time with somebody before you get to know them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know somebody's background and the baggage that they carry, you could be getting into a spider web rather than a marriage.
Ooh. Wow.
And in a spider web, you're caught
Yeah.
and you can't get out.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's tough. So again, so you're telling people that they need to spend time with folks and don't. So are you saying, if you're, based on your view, if you're a young girl looking to be married, stop looking and be found?
Basically, yes, that's what I'm saying. Because he will eventually find you. You focus on your goals, focus on what you want to do, and have God as the first person in your life, and then you will be found.
Mm. Where did you get this? When did God become important to you? Like, how did you get to this point where God is your kind of compass on making decisions? Did you grow up with a bunch of...
I grew up in a Christian home, and after I came to college, I really got serious with God.
Why?
Because I saw young people at my church in Muncie that really loved God, and I wanted what they had.
Mm.
And so I just began to focus on God. I taught Sunshine Band at the church I was going to, and I was just happy doing things that the younger people did, and they weren't out shooting or doing anything. We just had good, clean fun. We would go to Kings Island, in the summertime, and we just had good, clean fun.
And that was that new for you? Had you never seen kids or young people that serious about God before?
That was new for me.
Okay. And it was because they were so serious about God and the fact that they what
That
is
drew me.
that drew you?
That drew me, and I
And what do you
wanted
mean
to-
by serious about God? Like what were they doing that was so different, that was so compelling versus what maybe some of the other people were doing?
They were singing in the choir, going to different church gatherings, and they just seemed so happy just to have a love for God.
Mm.
And, they weren't in the paper, they weren't getting locked up,
Yeah.
they weren't stealing,
Yeah.
and that just drew me that, it's really something to this God thing.
Mm.
And so I really got serious with the Lord.
What would you tell people now that are kind of still teetering on whether or not they should be serious with God or take their faith more seriously? What would you tell them?
I would say that if you put God first, everything else will follow.
Mm.
Absolutely everything. But a lot of people don't want to put God first. They want to make their own way. I'm going to pick this one, pick that one. Because I wanted somebody tall.
Mm.
I wanted somebody light skinned with a big afro. But that wasn't what I got.
Yeah.
See, God knew what I needed, and God knew what I could live with and who could live with me.
Mm.
Question I always get is, Stephen, how do you do it all? From Turo to working a 9 to 5 to podcasting to having DiamondShineCleaner.com. How do you do it all? Well, I will say it's not easy, but it is doable if you do it the right way. And that's why I created the free Side Hustle Starter Kit to help you learn how to get started in whatever business you want to get started in as a side hustle. Most Americans now require a side hustle of some sort just to make ends meet. And I want to help you learn how to do it the right way. So click the link below or visit the website, and I'd love to help you get your side hustle started today.
That's important. So it wasn't everything you wanted. And how did you let go of what you wanted?
I let go of what I wanted when I realized I was in love with this guy.
Yeah.
And he treated me like a lady. And a lot of people didn't do that at that time.
What are some signs for young women out there, what are some signs that a man is treating them like a lady? What do you mean by that? What are some signs that you're being treated like a lady?
He would always open the door for me.
Oh, early on.
Early on, when we were dating, he opened the car door for me.
Wow. And that meant something to you.
That meant something to me. And we never had to go Dutch. I didn't have to come out of my pocket to pay for my meal. Now, granted, meals were cheaper then.
Yeah.
But we didn't have to go 50-50.
And that impressed you as well.
Yes.
Had you been in situations where you had to do 50-50 before, or had you heard about situations?
I had heard about it, but I hadn't. Because number one, I liked my own money, and I wasn't about to pay for yours.
And what else? What other things did he do treat you like a lady?
He was just kind and respectful.
Yeah.
And so that just won me over.
Yeah. What about his relationship with your parents or your mom?
My mom and dad, my parents loved him.
Really?
And I knew that was a good sign.
Do you think people don't take that into consideration enough, whether or not their loved one or their potential fiance or girlfriend or boyfriend, if they have a good relationship with their family?
Yes, I think it's very important.
Yeah.
To consider the family. And it's not that you want the family to choose for you, but sometimes the family can see something that's not quite right. They may not can point it out, but just a gut feeling, this isn't the one for you.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't override that.
Really? So the family's voice is important.
When you marry, you are intertwining families.
Ah.
Families will get together. And, if all your families are bang bang shoot 'em up. That's not going to work with a family that likes peace.
Yeah. Bang bang shoot 'em up versus peace don't mix.
That's right.
No, that's good. Okay, so tell us about marriage. So you found the perfect man. He was treating you like so. Your life was just a basket of roses. Everything went perfect, and you had the kids and the white picket fence, and everything was perfect, right?
No, I don't really believe that there's a perfect marriage. And the reason why is because God made me a woman and he made him a man.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to have some differences, but you have to learn how to work through the differences
Yeah.
because men and women think differently.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. So what would you say? So how many kids did you end up having? Obviously, I'm the last and the best. But what was that like? Bearing children early on. You got married at what, 20 something, right after college?
Yes, I was 22 or 23.
Was that different too, to be married that young, or did you expect to be married that young, or was that normal back then? Were all your friends married too at around the same time?
No, not all of them, but I think I was just ready for marriage at that time.
Mm.
You know, I wasn't ready to have my children so early, but I did.
But you did. So tell us about that. What would you tell to people who've had children very quickly? What you've been through it?
I would tell them sometimes to wait.
Yeah, get a little more established.
Yes, get a little more established. Because when I got married, my husband I had graduated from Ball State and he was starting Ball State.
Mm.
And then we had 2 young children.
Yeah.
My daughter and son, they're 11 months and 23 days apart.
Mm.
And so he's trying to go to class, and I've got 2 toddlers,
Yeah.
and that was kind of rough.
Kind of rough.
That was rough.
Yeah. What's the thing you're proudest of for your children?
I'm thankful that my children love the Lord, and that's a plus for me because when you love God, everything else will fall in place.
What, really? And you found that to be true?
I found that to be absolutely true.
When you think about the, raising kids at that time, going back to work and that sort of thing, when did you, or what would you say, like, your money situation was like, and what do you think you didn't know back then, and dealing with kids, dealing with a husband, and trying to deal with finances that you know now as it relates to money?
When I was younger, and see, when I started back to work, I only worked part-time. I only worked 3 days a week
Okay.
because I had young children at home. But I was young, and our parents really didn't teach us about money. And so I wished I had known about saving back in my 20s because I would have really saved, and I would probably be a millionaire right now. But I didn't know about saving. And what I would do, I would try to save. I put maybe $20 in the bank. But then if my friend said, well, hey, let's go out and eat, or let's go get the kids ice cream, I'd go back and get my $20 out.
Yeah, so you could go do that fun thing.
So I could go do that. But I wasn't saving.
Yeah. Why do you think your parents never taught you about money?
I think because they really didn't know and they weren't taught themselves. And you cannot teach what you have not been taught. And so, most of it, everybody, when I was growing up, we lived paycheck to paycheck.
And if you had a paycheck, that was basically good enough.
That was good enough. And when the money ran out, it ran out. And if you didn't have the money to do something or go to the movies, and at that time, the movies was only 50 cents. But if you didn't have 50 cents, you had to stay home on the porch.
Right. So when did you find out, when did it click to you? Like what age, what time frame did you think that, man, I should have been saving more of this,
it's sad to say, but it didn't click for me until I was probably about 40
Mm.
that you need to save. And my sister-in-law is the one that helped me to save. She told me, "You're not saving." When I would tell her I would go back to the bank and get
Yeah.
money out. "You're not saving." And I thought about it. She's right.
Mm.
And so I started, saving with a Christmas club. And you only had to put $2 a week in.
Okay.
And so I started saving and being diligent in that.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned how to save.
That's good. What would you say now in terms of just managing money, saving being very important? Talk about it a little bit more. What would you tell people about how to save now and how to like manage their money?
Okay, I would tell them, don't put all your money on your back.
Mm.
You can only wear one pair of shoes at a time.
So you don't need 10.
And don't do things to impress anybody.
Mm.
Most people want to carry a Louis Vuitton purse and they don't have life insurance. That's foolishness to me.
Mm.
And why go every 2 weeks to get your nails done if you don't have any money in the bank? If you don't have any money saved up, you don't have $500, $1,000. Why? And I'm not saying not take care of yourself. I believe in taking care of yourself. I believe in looking nice.
Yeah.
But have the priorities where they need to be in the proper place.
Yeah. That's good. Amen to that. What sacrifices did you make for our family that we probably didn't notice?
Well, I think the biggest sacrifice that my husband and I made, we decided to send all of you guys to Christian school. And that was expensive at that time.
Mm.
And we did without a lot of things to put you in a Christian school.
Mm. Yeah, and I appreciate that. I know that sometimes that school gets a bad name, but when I think about it now and I realize the difference in education, and I always say this, my ability to interact and communicate with folks of a different race, white, Indian, Asian, different people that we grew up with, and the comfortability that I have with that, I think is greatly increased because of going to that private school. And so I appreciate that sacrifice if I've never told you that.
Thank you.
What's the worst thing you've ever spent money on?
The worst thing I ever spent money on, I think it was me and my husband. We had these people come to our house and they told us we'd have purified water and all this kind of stuff. And it was really, really expensive. We had to buy 50-pound blocks of salt. And that, we spent a lot of money. And I don't think the water was pure or anything.
Yeah.
I think we just got gypped.
You got gypped, yeah. Wow, okay. And so be cautious of people getting you to do something that, what was the water was supposed to help make you healthier or something like that? Or
Cleaner water, and, they hooked it all up, to our house and all that. But I don't think it was, and then a few years later, they go out of business.
Yeah, and they don't even exist anymore.
Yes.
Yeah, so be cautious of people trying to sell you stuff and
Yes.
that's going to give you all these benefits. And, they kind of like, I've been doing fine without it. Why do I need it now? Sort of thing.
So true.
What would you tell people about, you're a nurse. You were a nurse for many years. What should people do about their health?
Well, now I'm, health is so important. We have so much processed food, and processed food can give you high blood pressure, diabetes. And I've been doing a lot of research on my own on juicing and natural herbs like turmeric and ginger, just trying to live a healthier lifestyle.
What's processed foods? Like what foods are processed?
Processed foods are foods that come in a box. They have a lot of salt in them,
Mm.
sugar, carbohydrates, canned soups. They may have like 900 and some milligrams of salt.
Mm.
And for people that have high blood pressure, you don't need all that salt.
Mm.
So rather than buying a lot of canned soups, I'll make my own soup.
Mm. And so this is something people don't realize. I mean, in your early years, if you would have known all that sort of stuff, would you have eaten differently or
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But, when you're young and you have children, you eat what stretches. And depending on your budget, you eat what's cheap.
Yeah.
And I cooked spaghetti every week because it was cheap for my children. And my husband hated spaghetti.
Did he?
After the kids all got grown, I rarely cook spaghetti.
Really? I used to tell people spaghetti was my favorite meal. Maybe that's why, because we had it every week.
Every week.
But you were just saving money. But that wasn't necessarily bad for us, right?
No, it wasn't necessarily bad for you. But, now people don't want you eating a lot of carbs. And see, now if I make spaghetti, I make it with ground turkey rather than ground beef.
Why?
Just for health reasons.
So ground beef is just not as healthy as ground turkey.
Well, you can get a leaner ground beef, or you can get a lean turkey, 90, 93, whatever.
Mm-hmm. But in your later years, you're noticing that folks just don't think about these things. They don't think about the food they're eating. They're more focused on what can stretch, what's quicker, what's faster to eat.
And a lot of people, they don't want to take the time to cook. They don't want to take the time to eat healthy, eat fruit. A lot of people buy a lot of cereal for their children. It's loaded with sugar.
Yeah.
There's a lot, there's a lot of stuff that'll give you more cavities. I'm just learning that it's better to eat cleaner.
Yeah. That's good. What's one lesson that you learned the hard way that you now know that you wish you wouldn't have had to learn the hard way?
I learned about credit the hard way.
Talk to us about that.
When credit cards first came out, my husband was excited about them, and he'd keep his money in his pocket, whip out the credit card. But you still got to pay for that credit card.
Yeah.
And once you run it up, it gets hard.
When do you remember when they came out? They wasn't out when y'all first got married?
No, I think they came out in the 80s.
In the 80s, they became real popular. And it was just felt like free money.
Yeah, it felt like free money, but you can get yourself in a bind. We got into a bind. And then I learned. And so when you're dealing with credit, you don't just pay the minimum balance. Always pay more.
Yeah.
And try to pay it off at the end of each month.
Right, yeah.
I didn't know that back then, but I know it now.
You know
and
it now.
I practice it now diligently.
Even when it's hard.
Even when it's hard.
Yeah, you practice it. So what is your view on debt? Because I know you always talk to me about my businesses and all this and me having, leveraging debt and having money coming in. What is that one reason you don't like debt too much?
I don't like debt because I've been there. I've been in debt. Debt causes stress. I value peace.
Yeah.
And I want to be debt free.
Yeah. What would you say you taught your children about money?
I think I taught you guys to be wise with it. You don't have to try to get, it took me 20, 30 years to accomplish some of the things that I accomplished. And most of the young people want to get it overnight. They want to get a job, work on it a year, drive a Mercedes. That's not wise.
Yeah. Oh,
Get a car that's good,
yeah.
that'll take you from point A to point B. And when you have enough money in the bank, then you can buy a Mercedes.
Right.
But to me, Mercedes and all that, it's just for status. People just want stuff to prove, well, this makes me feel somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I'm somebody if I don't have anything
Why is that?
because of the God that I serve.
Mm.
I base my value on God's word,
Mm. That's
not
good.
on what I have.
Yeah.
Because I'm not trying to impress anybody because I don't have to.
Mm. So with money in the bank or with a Mercedes or without, you know how to be
Content.
content. Is that a lost art, you think? Contentment?
Oh, yes. I think in this generation, contentment and gratitude, if people would be grateful just for waking up in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can't give your own self breath.
Yeah.
Be grateful for that.
Yeah.
And if people were more grateful in this country, the country wouldn't be so volatile.
Mm.
We wouldn't have so much violence.
Yeah.
You know, you step on my shoes, I'm going to cap you.
Yeah. It's not good. Yeah. No, you're right. I know I'm jumping all over, but tell us, have you ever seen somebody, being a nurse, being in an emergency room, have you ever seen a gun victim? Or
Oh, many times.
tell us about that. What is that?
It's traumatic,
Yeah.
and you're trying to save a person's life.
Yeah.
And one thing about when I lived in Gary, I remember one time as a joke, it was sad. They put on the emergency room doors 20% off on gunshot wounds this week.
Wow.
They had so many,
Really?
and that's sad.
That is sad.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's terrible.
Yeah.
And what's one of the craziest stories you ever heard about a gunshot type of victim that came into the ER? Do you remember any of them?
I don't remember any gunshot wounds that came in, but one thing that really changed me when I was doing triage in Muncie as an RN, a lady ran through the doors, and when you're triaging, you decide which room the patients need to go in. So if you come in with chest pain, I would put you in the chest pain room,
Right.
where you could be seen quickly or immediately.
Okay.
But I remember one time a lady came in the ER doors, and she had a baby wrapped up.
Mm.
And she said, something's wrong with my grandbaby. And she pushed the baby in my arms.
Mm.
I pulled the blanket back,
Yeah.
and the baby was dead.
Oh my goodness.
And I walked to the room, and they saw me, and they knew something was wrong because they said my whole countenance changed.
Mm.
And I couldn't sleep because I didn't expect that.
Right.
I never expected somebody to hand me a dead baby.
Mm.
And that's when SIDS was rampant, and that's sudden infant death syndrome.
Okay. And what is SIDS? How do people get it? How do they avoid it?
Sometimes it's just the child can die through the night.
Mm.
You know, I can't really tell you now how you get it.
Okay.
But that was traumatic for me, and I couldn't sleep for weeks after that. Because, you know, sometimes people will come in the ER, they said, this is wrong, and it's not as bad as you really think it is.
Right.
But this really was. She shoved the baby in and I took the baby,
Yeah.
pulled the cover back, and I walked the baby to the trauma room.
Mm. And then what happens from there? They just declare them
Well,
passed away?
you try to do CPR and you do what you can do, you
Yeah.
know, but the baby was gone.
Wow. I've always wondered this. When people like die on the scene, technically, are they not allowed to be pronounced dead until they get to the hospital?
No, most people, they will pronounce you dead
At the scene?
At the scene, yes.
Okay. What would you say in that, when you were dealing with doctors and different type of nurses and a lot of, what would you say was one of the things that was wrong with our hospital system? or with our, our healthcare system in general, or opportunities for improvement in that?
Well, there's always opportunities for improvement, but I took the stance being a nurse. You treat whoever comes through the door like they're your family
Mm.
because I would want somebody to treat me the same way.
Has that helped you just deal with
Yes,
different types of people?
that has helped me deal with a lot of different types of people
Have you dealt?
because I have compassion for them and empathy for them.
Have you ever felt like somebody was mean or nasty or racist or something, and then you still have to serve them?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Did that compassion change them at all?
Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. But just depending on the situation. And, I've had many times where I had to humble myself because being a black RN, sometimes people didn't want me to draw their blood. And when I was working at the Delaware County Health Department, some people wouldn't get in my line
Mm.
for me to draw their blood.
Wow.
But that didn't bother me.
yeah.
They did it because of the color of my skin. But once they found out that I knew what I was doing, they got in my line. I had the biggest line because I only believe in giving one stick.
Mm. So you was the best,
Yeah.
basically.
And see, they didn't know that I used to work on the IV team in Gary.
mm.
And if you can start an IV, you can draw blood.
Mm. Wow.
But you have to learn how to palpate to find the vein.
Yeah.
You just don't go in blind, trying to poke a vein.
Right. What would you say about in healthcare in general? How do people pick good doctors, good people that they go and get their checkups with? How do you know that you've picked a good one?
Most time it's word of mouth.
Okay.
People will tell you this doctor is good. And then, when you're in the hospital setting, you watch doctors, you watch their demeanor, and you know who's good.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how I chose my doctors.
Yeah. Pay attention to it. What would you, as you think about you in your later years now, what do you want your grandkids, your kids, their great grandkids to remember about you?
I want my grandkids to remember that I'm a woman of God.
Mm-hmm.
I love God. I pray, and I want them to follow that legacy.
Yeah. To be women and children of God.
And children of God.
Because if anything, you would say that's one of your key components, one of the key things that you stood on through the years. Let me ask you this. Being a first lady, how do you do that well? You've done it. You did it for so many years. What is a key sign to being a good first lady?
You have to have wisdom. And the Bible says if you lack wisdom, ask God for wisdom. And be kind and compassionate to everyone.
Yeah.
Because everybody's got a story. Everybody's got a past. And you cannot lump everybody in the same basket.
Right.
And you can learn. I've learned a lot of things by being a pastor's wife. Learn how to talk to people, how to deal with people. And you deal with them where they are.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, you can't be judgmental. Listen to them, cry with them, pray with them,
Yeah.
and be in the moment with them.
What's one of the most impactful things you can remember through that journey of your life of being a pastor's wife, of either a life that was affected or a situation that happened? What's one of, I would say, the most impactful memories you have from doing that, being that day in or week in and week out?
Well, one time I stayed with one of our church members because she had had open heart surgery. And I asked my husband if I could go and spend the night with her, and I did. But that helped allay her fear because after you've had a major surgery like that, you think you're going to die.
Mm.
And that really impacted her, that I would do that for her.
Yeah,
But that's what I felt led to do, and I just did it.
really. And so, have you felt like has it felt like a continual sacrifice of helping others and being there for other people? Has that felt like it was worth it?
Oh, absolutely. Because to minister, and even being a nurse, you're just being a servant. And the Bible says the greatest among you will be a servant.
Mm.
And I enjoy serving. That's my life. That's what I do.
That's good. Um, give us some life advice. What are things more than what you've already given us? What are some things you would say, in addition to serving God and keeping God first, that you would say is important if you're going to live a life that's not just full of money and flashy things, but a life where you have this peace? What are 3 things you would say that are people should do if they want to have a life filled with peace?
I believe that my peace comes from being in God's word.
Mm.
And you have to obey the word, do the word, not just talk it. Anybody can talk.
Yeah.
The devil knows scriptures.
Mm.
But live the word and be true to yourself. Be who God made you to be. I'm not trying to be anybody else. I can't be anybody else. I'm best being who I am, because God made me in his design and in his image, and he has plan and purpose for absolutely every individual on this earth.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. That's good. Are you proud of your children?
Absolutely.
Are you proud of me?
Yes, I am. And the reason I'm proud of them is because the gifts and talents that you guys have, I can't take credit for it.
Mm.
But it's all God.
Mm.
I ask God to lead my children in the right way, to let them be who God has ordained them to be. And when you do that, when you leave it in God's hands, he does all things well. Have you made mistakes? Absolutely.
Big ones.
Yes. Have you put me on my knees? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And all of my children have.
And what would you say? Was there ever a time you thought, oh my goodness, from Kelly to Andre to Jonathan to me, I think they're never going to get it right? Have you ever?
Yes, you think that. But what I learned, God told me one time, I love them more than you do. And when he spoke that to me, I knew everything was going to be all right.
That's good. All right, Mom, we went a good long time, and I know I want to talk to you all day, but tell the people, especially mothers out there, encourage them and encourage your children on why. One, I want to do 2 things. One, encourage children why they should listen to their mother, and 2, encourage mothers that haven't yet seen their children grow up and seen them go through everything on why, just comfort them and let them know it's going to be okay.
Yes. Okay. Well, first I would say to young mothers, it's difficult. Motherhood is difficult. You have a lot of tasks, taking care of the children, carrying them here and there. But in the end, stay the course. It will pay off. Pray over your children. Plead the blood of Jesus over them. Be mindful of their friends and where they're going. And if you feel a check in your spirit, don't allow your children to go.
And why should children listen to their
And
parents?
children should listen to your parents, because the Bible says, children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Sometimes parents don't know why they're telling you no, but it's that mother wit, that instinct. They just see something down the road. And sometimes God doesn't tell them what to down the road. But if they tell you no, it's for your own good. And so always try to listen to your parents, because your parents want the best for you. They will do what's best for you always.
Thanks, Mama. And we didn't get into it, but you told me not to drive that Lincoln LS to Florida
Yes, I did.
and ended up being a tragedy. We won't get into it today, but I wish I would have listened to you to this day. And you probably didn't. Did you know why you was telling me no, not to drive?
I didn't know why I was telling you no, but in my spirit, I knew that you should not drive that car.
Yeah,
And I knew that you lied, that it wasn't your car.
yeah,
I knew that from jump.
yeah. Wow. Well, Mama knows best, and I am a living witness that my mother, had I have listened to her, had I have done everything that she instructed me to do, that I would be better off. But I'm also a living witness that sticking with God, that instruction that you've given us, you know, it comes back, and you kind of come back to what you've been taught over time. And I'm grateful to you. This is an honor to be able to sit here and talk to you and learn things. I didn't know Uncle Mario was with the Jackson 5, and I didn't know some of the things about you wanting a tall man with an afro and all that stuff. But it's good to get to know you, and I love you, and I appreciate your sacrifice for me. And I speak for all my brothers and sisters when I say thank you for being the best mom that we could have ever had.
Thank you, son.
You're welcome. All right, y'all. Until next time, I hope you stay motivated, and I hope you learn to listen to your mother, because mama knows best. All right, it's your boy, StephenMotivate. Until next time, peace.